Happy Monday, Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel, the Tennessee Volunteers, the Creighton Blue Jays, Friday night, scheduled time of 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time coming up. And as we all know, that could possibly be later, could be closer to 10:30, depending on how it was. I know they were supposed to tip off with Texas around 8 Saturday night into 8:25. So we're anywhere from this will be a late one Friday night. That puts the House of Orange back in the game on a potential live show. We'll see. To be determined on that moving forward, as I initially thought I was out. But I won't get into the first preview of this, and then I'm going to bring up stuff as the week goes along and kind of add on to it as we get into that. But just want to take an initial first look at Creighton and who they are. So they're ranked number 11 right now in the country. They are, of course, they overcome a double overtime game against Oregon on Saturday night. And coming into this game, so Creighton averages 80.6 points per game, gives up 69.5, according to Ken Palm. And we'll kind of share we'll share my screen here, kind of look at a few little statistics here. Let's see. Let me find where we're at. So looking at Ken Palm ranking. So right here you have Tennessee right in this area. Tennessee ranks 8th adjusted offense. So this is adjusted offensive efficiency. And if you can see it here, points scored per 100 possessions. And then adjusted defense, points given up or points allowed per 100 possessions. Tennessee adjusted offense ranks 30th, 116.3 per game. Defense, they rank 3rd in the nation, according to the Ken Palm metric of this at 89.9. All right. Creighton down here, 11th overall. 11th in adjusted offense, 120.2. 23rd in defense, 96.3. Okay, so they outscore Tennessee by a little bit per game. And then, if I look over here, just comparing some stats as well. So that's a pretty interesting matchup to me because these teams are closely matched. Looks like Creighton is better offensively than Tennessee, but I would give Tennessee the nod defensively. And I've seen a couple interesting statistics that could favor Tennessee that I'll try to get to here in just a minute. But looking at Creighton and just looking at I'll share this once again. I'll just pull up their stats here and look at them together with you. Looking at Creighton's season statistics, and we'll look at them as a team. So field goal percentage, they're at 48.5 on the year. If I flip over here to Tennessee and you look at Tennessee, they are at 44.3, and they only give up 38.6. Something has to give right there. I'm going to look at this one right here, 3-point percentage. So Tennessee allows 30.9 per nation or per game on that. Creighton shoots 36.6. From what I was seeing, they are average some of the most 3-point attempts per game on this. The similarity I saw was with Alabama. And we know how Tennessee did both games with Alabama, winning both of those games. Rebounding, Creighton averages 38.2. Tennessee is about 39.1. Pretty close, a little bit of an advantage to Tennessee. Assists, 16.9 for Creighton, 16.7 for the Vols. Now, here's one that I saw was pretty interesting. Turnovers. Turnovers per game that they force. So 10.5 for Tennessee. You look over at Creighton, they rank last, I think it is like, I'm trying to see where it is there, but I saw the statistic earlier. They rank last in turnovers forced per game. And then one thing that I've seen as well with this game, and, I've said I think Tennessee's a finesse team, but they have some guys who can play physical. And it was said in here, and I will bring up an interesting dynamic, and I guarantee you a phone call that's been made already. And probably often, but an interesting dynamic is, and it went back to last year, said when they played San Diego State in the tournament, physical teams normally can have their way with Creighton. I've seen a few interesting statistics. So Tennessee can play physical on Friday night. That could bode well for them. A big statistic as well, I saw this. I'll give credit to Jordan Moore. This is a guy on Twitter, a Tennessee fan. He contributes to Fox Sports Knoxville. I saw this stat he put out today. He's a guy who puts stats out for baseball, basketball. I'm assuming he probably does football. I'm not sure on that, but I've just run across him recently. But in games where Creighton shoots 32% or less from 3-point range, they're 3-6 on the year. And those 3 wins were by single digits. And I looked at some of their statistics, some of their games. Now, a couple of their losses, they did shoot pretty well from 3-point and still got beat. But, they've lost to some good teams. But a couple teams that really stood out to me on their schedule. St. John's, 80-66. St. John's held them. We'll go back up here just a moment. Here, I'm going to share the screen on this one just because I think these are pretty interesting, what I've got. So looking back at Creighton again here. Looking back at this, so I want to key on this one. Providence. 2 losses to Providence. So if you haven't put 2 and 2 together here, Providence head coach is Kim English, who was an assistant for a bit under Rick Barnes. Can't tell me Rick Barnes and Rod Clark and Justin Gainey and these guys have not made that phone call already. You can't tell me they have not been on the phone with Kim English to see what they did. Providence beat them both games this year. So look at the statistics when they played Providence, and this was at Creighton. If you look here at Creighton's 3-point shooting, first half 18.8%, second half 30%, for the game 23.1% on it. Now, if you look here at Creighton's total points, this is a trend with them right here. Kalkbrenner, Ashworth, Alexander. I will go with Shireman. I've not watched them. When I watched them the other night, I think I was preparing a baseball video and I had the sound down while watching them. So it's pretty much a 3-headed monster for Creighton. They go 6 deep. You can get them in foul trouble, especially some of their main guys. You can give them trouble right here. There's a big one for them in the game. Looking at it again here. I took it off here a little more than I wanted to. Looking back again, I wanted to look back at St. John's. This was a game that stood out to me here. 80-66. So they beat St. John's 66-65. St. John's held them to 22% from 3-point range in that game. The next game I'm looking at down here, 88-66. St. John's held them to 23.1. I'm not sure the connection between Rick Barnes and Rick Pitino, but I would imagine if there's a connection, if any of this staff has a connection, that phone call has been made as well. So you can kind of look at some trends in these games. I'm going to look at Butler out. UConn, probably an outlier because not many people beaten UConn. Marquette, here's UNLV. Here's one I'll look back at. 27.6%. If Tennessee can hold them to their average, if they can hold them to their average here of around 30%, Tennessee withstands a good chance to win this basketball game on Saturday night. We've seen Tennessee play these teams that hit 3. Now, if you get a Kentucky where they get red hot, if you get a Texas A&M who was not a 3-point shooting team, but if you get, let's say, that Kentucky where it's red hot, you may have a hard night on it. Something as well as, even though Kalkbrenner for Creighton, he's like 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. He's 7'1", 270. But Creighton ranks low in offensive rebounds. So that's something where Adu, Awaka, they've got to do their damage against him. Keep him out of the lane on it. But these are some interesting statistics. I mean, again, I'm not taking credit for that. I'll give it Jordan Moore, again, a Fox Sports Knoxville contributor, someone I've run across on Twitter, a stats guy, put that. I thought that was really interesting because that is somewhere Tennessee's defense, they held St. Peter's down. They held Texas down. So, they've had a couple games where teams have gotten hot on them, or maybe a few. The dribble and the drive, the kick and drive, that's what's gotten them in trouble a lot of times. So I'll look back, kind of that. So Creighton's game, they like to shoot threes, okay? 6 deep they go. And really, they have 3 guys who average over 17 per game. Talked about those guys, Kalkbrenner, Alexander, and what's the other? Shireman. Those are the 3 there. You've got Ashworth, who it looks like scores double digits pretty often as well. I don't know if it's a pick your poison with those guys or what. If any of you have watched them more than I have, can tell me. But the the physicality, if Tennessee can play that, but just what have these teams done that have stopped them 3-point wise defensively? That's going to be a key, and it's going to be a key point in this game. Josiah Jordan James, Vescovy, Meshack, Ziegler's going to get their point guard. I don't think their point guard is one of their main scorers. I don't think he's one of the main three, but he's one of them that Tennessee will have to watch. He can score on it. So Ziegler, of course, named to the Lefty Drizel Defensive Player of the Year list today for Ziegler. He'll get to prove it again this week. How does Tennessee answer playing late? They've played some late games this year, and they fared well in them. We'll see if they carry that over again this weekend. I'm liking Tennessee's chances the more I look at this. Is it going to be a tough game? I totally expect it will. But I like that these top defenses can make things happen against Creighton. Tennessee's type teams had good luck with them for the most part this year. With Florida, with Alabama, first time with Kentucky, the second time Kentucky beat them. Kentucky shot lights out, and Tennessee still almost beat them at the end. They had a shot to tie it late. But, I'm going to have more stuff as we go on in the week, looking at Creighton, looking at Tennessee, how I think Chancellor's going. We'll talk about interviews. We'll talk about trends and things going on for the rest of the week. But tomorrow night, baseball, Tennessee Tech. I'll have a video uploaded post-game right after that. And then it'll just be more stuff leading up to the basketball game on Friday night. Keys to victory along the way. But I hope you'll like this. You'll share it. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I hope you'll subscribe. It is free. Share that out to any Tennessee fans that may want to give it a listen going in. But my name's Frank Rock. I appreciate you guys tuning in with me. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. And as always, go Vols.